welcome to another session of Uncle Ricky's House. All you people in the middle. Today, as usual, we're going to talk about some truth that has been occurring internationally over the last week to 10 days. And all of these things we're going to discuss today revolve around a central theme, and that theme is the slowdown of the advance of fascism. That's right, conservative right-wing movements seem to have been in a move to create that New World fascist order. But democracy is a stubborn bitch. Fascism has had to slow down and even take a step back while democracy still hangs on or struggles to exist in places where it has never existed. We will talk about the resignation of Boris Johnson in Britain. We will talk about the riots of the people in Sri Lanka. We'll discuss the assassination of Shinzo Abe, the former Prime Minister of Japan. And of course, you can't talk about everybody else's shit unless you talk about your own shit. We will discuss the 7th public session of the 1/6 committee hearings. So, grab a drink, roll up a blunt, break open a new pack of cigarettes, or just sit down and relax. Stand by as we get into some new shit at Uncle Ricky's house. Until last week, Boris Johnson was the leader of the British Conservative Party. Recently, he was pressured into resigning by members of his own party, much in the style of Barry Goldwater going to the White House to tell Nixon he was done during the Watergate scandal. People in the Conservative Party and in the British Parliament that were dissatisfied with Johnson threatened to resign en masse. The Parliament was losing so many people through the resignation that Johnson had no choice but to resign or watch the country's government totally collapse.
I know that there will be many people who are relieved, and perhaps quite a few who will also be disappointed. And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
Sri Lanka is a small Asian island in the Indian Ocean. It's close to the peninsula of India. Okay, the thing with Sri Lanka, the people basically revolted. It was a rebellion against the elected government, the elected supposedly democratic government. They forced the president to resign, and him and the prime minister had to haul ass after the people overtook the president's mansion and burned the prime minister's mansion to the ground. Kind of sounds familiar, but it's like in their case, I guess you could say it was a good thing if you were on the side of the majority, and a bad thing if you were on the side of the minority. The people demonstrated because they were fed up with the government. One family has dominated Sri Lankan politics for the past 20 years. A set of brothers. They basically, both of them had taken multiple terms as president and prime minister, and when they held those offices of power, they hired family members, nepotism, sound familiar, for the top government jobs. And before long, the one family ran the entire country. Nobody could say anything against them. And their philosophy was to run the country like a business. Starting to sound real familiar, right? How these people got in power was because for a long time, they were considered to be national heroes because Sri Lanka is majority Buddhist. And these people, when they got into politics, they advertised themselves as populists. Buddhist rule. Sri Lanka has a minority population that is Islamic, ethnically Islamic, called the Tamil Tigers. There was a long civil war. These two brothers commanded national Sri Lankan army troops and I guess militia, whatever they want to call it, and basically went into the jungle and for the most part, almost, let's just say a lot of people that went out there on the Tamil Tiger side didn't come back, and there's a lot of questions behind it. But anyway, the majority of the Buddhist populace, they made national heroes out of them. That's how they got cemented into the political side, and people basically ignored what they were doing because they were so loved by the people. They were populist. They were national heroes. Well, that's what happens when you ignore wrong stuff and just let people slide because they're supposed to be in charge, and maybe they did some things at one time that were good, but now they just taking advantage. Sound familiar? Now, the economy and the oppressive regime type politics, the autocratic politics with hints of, I guess, theocratical applications, being hardcore Buddhists, if there is such a thing. People got fed up. You're not gonna treat us like shit and keep us broke too. Either you're gonna stop treating us like shit or get us some damn money. So they storm the Capitol complex. Sound familiar? But in this case, it's like being in a house of mirrors. Everything is flipped. The good guys are the ones charging the Capitol, and the bad guys are the ones sitting in the White House, running the country. It's all twisted. But that's Sri Lanka for now. President left, Prime Minister left, so stay tuned. We'll see what happens as the populace forms a new government. We'll see how they go. But for now, they've reached their main objective. The president is gone. The Shinzo Abe assassination was a shock to the world because assassinations don't occur in Japan with any regularity. Not in modern times. Not in modern times. The murder rate in Japan it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to the murder rate in the United States. The Japanese have always said that they were socially above that, saving face. They have always wanted to present themselves as the most civilized culture in the world. Now, considering the atrocities from World War II, sometimes it may be hard to believe, but it's all about self-image. Abe was the longest-serving prime minister in the history of modern Japan since they have gone to an exclusively elected government. The monarchy, just like in England, Great Britain, it's symbolic. It has no direct input on the day-to-day operations of the Japanese government. Now, Abe was the leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, and don't let the name fool you. The Liberal Democratic Party is hardline Japanese traditionalists for the most part. Japanese traditionalists with money. This may have something to do with the actual assassination, because Abe has always tried to diminish the cruelty that was displayed by the Japanese people towards their combative enemies during World War II. He has also downplayed some of the atrocities that the Japanese committed against fellow Asians in their conquest of Asiatic territory. I guess you can ask yourself, how can you defend the indefensible? I mean, history tells us it's not only a history provided by its enemies, it's also a history, I mean, it's 100%. They are trying to argue against history that is accepted in the majority by the rest of the world. But that being said, the Japanese government is being sketchy about the situation surrounding Abe's assassination. They're trying to say that the killer has confessed that he didn't kill Abe for political reasons. The official version of the Abe killer's confession, or Abe assassin's confession, is that he killed Abe because he believed wrongfully that Abe was associated with an organization that he detested. Now, perhaps this is true, but by our standards, American standards, that shit is sketchy as hell. First of all, if you hate him because he's associated with an organization that you hate, what is the organization? And why did you believe, or why did you allegedly, mistakenly believe that Abe was associated with this organization? Now, usually when assassins kill someone, they do it in a method, in a place, in a time to deliver the biggest message. Abe was assassinated in the middle of a political speech in one of the larger Japanese cities. So if his killing was non-politically motivated, you gotta ask yourself, what was the real reason? Because the official version from the Japanese government really creates more questions than it answers. Because we know who killed him. We saw it on TV, on the news, live, via satellite. But the reason why, the motivation, the government's not providing their people and the world with a believable answer. And that's all Uncle Ricky has to say on the Abe assassination.
Hey, look, there's not a whole lot that we can't. I mean, these congressional hearings, no matter which side you're on, whether you're, it was an insurrection, they need to be prosecuted, everybody all the way to the top, or if you're like, what does it matter? It was Trump, or if you're like, Trump is the savior of our country, we have to have him no matter what. You got to realize that there's something wrong. in our government. There's too many loopholes. There's too many ways that the wrong type people, the wrong-minded people, can get in and corrode and corrupt the existing system to the point where the system itself becomes a danger to the country that it's supposed to regulate, to the people in the country that they are supposed to govern. I don't think that no matter what side or what party you believe in, if you believe in party politics, or if you just believe in the electoral system, you have to understand that there are people out there not to change or amend the system. They want to eradicate the system. They want to revoke the system. But just like Republicans want to revoke health care, they don't have anything to replace it. Unless it's a system that will benefit them. Same thing with Trump. Trump wanted to make the Constitution irrelevant. He wanted to become judge, jury, and executioner. He wanted to turn America into what he thought America should be. And these hearings are bringing out the lengths that he was willing to go through to retain power. The lengths he was willing to go through to basically, like he has done in all of his life, to spit in the face of law and order. Trump is one of those individuals that thinks that he is above the law. And winning the presidency of the United States, you think that did anything to diminish that personal belief that he had? Money got him to that opinion. Now being probably, undoubtedly, unquestionably the most powerful person in the world, the leader of the free world, oh, that just capped him right the fuck up. This is what the 1/6 committee is trying to prove, that Donald Trump, none of this stuff happened by coincidence. Donald Trump may be an idiot, but Donald Trump is probably one of the world's greatest con men. Look how far he got, basically pushing his own brand of bullshit with nothing but bad things to back it up. Donald Trump won the presidency of the United States in 2016. He was voted in by a nation with no portfolio, no political portfolio, no social portfolio. All Donald Trump had was the fact that he was rich, the fact that he didn't like certain people, the fact that he thought that only certain type people were entitled to a voice and everybody else was responsible for falling in place and acting accordingly. Sounds like self-appointed royalty to me. But anyway, the 1/6 commission is pulling out stuff at a pace that they can't even handle, not because they don't have the desire, not because they don't have the intelligence. Obviously it's a very intelligent grouping, because look how far they come in a year. They batted Benghazi around for 3 years and came up with nothing. They batted the Russiagate around for damn near 2 years, came up with something, and if you come up with it, I mean, common sense will tell you that if you come up with something when you're investigating the person, when the investigation centers around the person that's still in power, how will that, I mean, common sense tells you that investigation ain't going nowhere, not even in America. Now, I'm gonna get off of here. It's not just about criminal charges for Trump. I think even his former supporters are starting to say that to let Trump get away with everything that he has done, to let Trump get away with all the discomfort, all the careers that were ruined by supporting this idiot, to make none of that matter, to make the Constitution not matter, then don't even try to charge Donald Trump. You will lessen the credibility of anything that has to do with the legal and judicial side of our government. DOJ, you fucked up. It's not too late. Merritt, you are the head. You the one that's got to kick them motherfuckers in the ass. Get this shit done. There is no more sitting on the pot. You have to shit and get up and save America. Charge that fucking mango bastard. There's no question anymore. The Supreme Court, y'all better get right and get back to the law as it is written in the Constitution and not as you want it to be or you interpret it to be. Because y'all got lifetime appointments and this shit is not going anywhere. It looks like Donald will be indicted either on the federal level or the state level. And more than likely, sooner or later, some of this shit is going to wind up in your lap. Now, are you going to prove what the majority of people are thinking, whether they're on the right or the left? We know why Trump packed the Supreme Court. Yeah, you conservative Republicans think he packed it to support anti-abortion and overturn Roe versus Wade and protect the Second Amendment. That motherfucker packed the Supreme Court to protect his ass because he knew where he was going to land, where his future was going to be decided eventually if his little insurrectionist coup attempt failed. Well, that's it from Uncle Ricky's house on YouTube. Until next time, join me when I think of something else to bug you with. Remember, Uncle Ricky's house on YouTube. Peace, God bless, and